going to take my first quarter exam on Araling Panlipunan, which is a biography book about Andres Bonifacio. So, this is the first question. Describe the family and childhood of Andres Bonifacio. Okay, so Bonifacio has family. Bonifa- Bonifacio has a mother, which is a mestiza, half Spanish, which is a mestiza, which is her father is Spanish and her mother is a Filipino, a Chinese Filipino, and his father was an ordinary Filipino. His name was Andres, for his parents named him Andres for this for his parents named him Andres after the name of Saint Andrew. Saint Andrew. So he has five siblings, three brothers and two sisters. One of her sisters, I remember her, was Nonai, and I forgot the others. I forgot the others. And Andres Bonifacio was a good child, which he was um learning some. He was at school when he wanted to go to school, but his mother and father cannot afford him, so he stopped learning at school. And when he was 14, his father and mother died, so he had to take care of his younger siblings and do the character of being a parent to them. And also, they do this so that they could also have another way of them making money is they sell some canes. Canes. They sell some canes, and that's how they make it. And also, Andres Bonifacio would sometimes be mad, and Andres Bonifacio and I remember Andres Bonifacio. I think that's all. This is the second question. Will you tell us the story how and why KKK started, and who were the people who formed this? So, um, how did the KKK started? The KKK started when they knew that Rizal was in the Pitan exile, because Andres knew the peace proclamation was already over. So he thought it is time for now to fight. So he thought about this. They said he thought about this with his friends, um, Ladislao Diwa, and Plata, which is no nice husband. They they tried to form the king. They wanted to form the king, and the KKK started because they wanted, as I said, that Rizal, Rizal's, Rizal's, Rizal was exiled, and they thought it was the peaceful reformation was over. That's all. I'm going to take my first quarter exam on history. Aaraling Panlipunan or Biography. I've already answered the other questions. Here's the 5th and 6th questions. So here's the 5th question. Tell us everything you can share about the life of Marco Polo when he was left in Venice by his father, and how did they meet again? So when his father was away, Marco Polo stayed at home. I remember it was that he left when Marco Polo was a child, so he was dreaming. Marco Polo was dreaming to go far east like what his father went. So he learned some things. Well, one day he was looking at the window and wondering when will his father will come. Some thought that his father was dead. His grandmother and his grandfather also thought that his father's dead, and also his uncle. Which I forgot to say, Marco Polo's mother was already died when he was born. So when he was at home, he learned a lot of things like he learned how to study maps, how to look at the north, east, west using the star or the sun. And one day, when he was looking at the window, wondering when his father was gonna come back, suddenly he saw I forgot to say, every time he saw some ship, he ran through the ship and tried to look at and run to the ship and saw if it's his father, but it wasn't. So one day when he was looking at the window and trying to look at the ships, he saw his father's ship and he ran. And then he saw his father again. He was 15 at that time. It was a long waiting for his father. But when his father had come home, the Pope had already died. Here. Here's the 6th question. Name and describe different things you can recall that Marco Polo encountered, discovered, heard, and learned through his travel to Cathay before meeting again, and where he saw it. You may use the globe if need be. If it's an animal, kindly draw it. So he traveled through Cathay. He went past. When he was going near the Persia, he saw some beautiful birds and some things. He saw someone like making some cloths. Oh no, they're pounding steel or something, and they saw, and when Marco Polo saw a large tall mountain, and then when he saw one of the shepherds, he said to them, "Is that the mountain of Ararat where Moses boat was landed there?" He said. Then he said, "Yes, it is that." And so he heard and that shepherd gave him a nice home. And so he told them some stories about the black liquid from above their cities. This one is near the Persia, the city I'm talking about now, near Persia, and they're talking about above their cities, above. So they said about this black oil that some people are carrying it, and this oil was very useful, for they used it to light some fires. But the Polos, believe this wasn't a real story. But he said, but the shepherd said that it was true, for he saw someone bringing in this magic oil. So when they went to Persia, it was a mountain range of course. So one told them a story about the old man of the mountain, or you could old man of the mountain. His real name was Al Sheikh Al Habal, Sheikh Al Habal, and he was from Egypt, tribe of Egypt, which tried they they went to other places when they reached Persia. They were traveling along these mountains when they saw this beautiful path where a falls falls, and above that falls is a beautiful castle. And that castle which they robbed this castle, and Sheikh Al Habal became the leader of this. And then the old let's just call him Old Man of the Mountain. The Old Man of the Mountain um um remember they robbed the castle. So they rob when there are merchants or yeah, merchants traveling by. He said they're going to rob them, and they saw this precious linen, precious things, and their castle was very richly indeed. And then the old man of the mountain made himself and a ruler, and he look his people. He wants to get a young, talented, courage, not young, talented, courage, not coward men from them, and should be soldiers, coward men and ready to fight, and they should be soldiers and guard around the castle. There was a fortress wall surrounding them. So they Sheikh Al-Habal told the chief priest that they should say that he was the the priest of priest of Baal, chief priest of Baal, so that they will say that he will he and he said that whosoever shall not listen to his instruction shall not enter the gates of heaven, he said. So that the chief priest told all the children that he was the old man of the mountain was the the old man of the mountain was the chief priest of Baal, so that they would follow him whenever they go up, so that they could enter the gates of heaven. One time, he wrote all he get a piece of paper. He wrote all the princes and princesses that that he hated and wanted to kill them. So he prepared those young men to drink a drug called hashishik, hashi, hashishik, and ca- and they was careless, and those men killed the princess and prince and everyone that Sheikh Al-Habab hated, and they have no mercy to them. They killed everyone they meet, and everyone Sheikh Al-Habab ordered them. They have no mercy, no, and they have no, and they have, and they didn't even felt sorry for them, or have no mercy, or even frightened for the death, for they killed everyone. And those Hashishans were so harsh. One day, the king of Cathay ordered, when he knew about this, ordered someone to stop him doing for doing this. To stop him for doing this. So they surrounded the fortress. They surrounded the fortress so that they could not get out to get some food. This one started for longed for years and years and years. And so the people of Sheikh Abahal starved, and then they surrendered. The old man of the mountain died with his hashishins, but some of the hashishins ran away, went to Rome and other places. And still, these hashishins live from now and on. But the people were so tired of calling them hashishins, they made it a short name called assassin. And that's the history from assassin. And that's all. Not yet. That's not all. That's the end of the story of the old man of the mountain. So they continued this journey. They continued their journey and reached Persia, where a place called in Persia, the place they have an inn, a nice priest, a very good priest led him into an inn. So they to the inn. When Marco Polo noticed there was a fire in their temple, and then they asked what was the fire. They said that is the fire that they worship. They called themselves fire worshippers, and the fire they worship. Then they told their tale. Once upon a time, there were three magi, three kings, and they knew there will be a great baby who will be born. So they prepared the gifts: frankincense, gold, and myrrh. If the baby took the gold, he is the king. If the baby took the myrrh, he is the physician. If the baby took the frankincense, then he is a god. So then they traveled their long journey until they reached the cottage of the baby. They followed the star, I remember, until they reached Bethlehem and they saw the cottage of the baby. But they were shocked, for the baby received all of them. But they bowed to him and worshipped him. And the baby gave them a sealed box. And then the three Magi's went home and wondered what was inside the box when they saw it was a rock, a piece of rock that they thought is the baby fooling them? So they threw the rock near a pit. Then there was flames. And then one of the Magi said, "Oh, I remember now that the baby is that our Savior is a rock. If and like when you threw that rock, it will be burning fire, and that fire will not stop. For his faith, for our faith should be no fire." They said. So they took the fire and preserved them. That is the story of the five worshippers. So when they were continuing their journey, they reached the land of Cathay, where Marco Polo described some things, beautiful animals and things like that. Beautiful animals and and when they were crossing the mountain ranges, they went to a plateau where Marco Polo and his father encountered shepherd encountered a shepherd, which they kindly welcomed. Marco Polo noticed a strange little animal with twisted horns, although he looked like a sheep with twisted horns. He called them mountain sheep. And when Marco Polo asked, describe this on his notebook. And then when he asked about this, the shepherd said, "This of they call this is the mountain sheep. They protect us, and they they their horns are in good use. They could use it in bowl, and also their body when they are dead, they put it on side of the mountain so that it could make the travelers some way if the snow might fall down, and they will saw the horns this sheep and they will follow it and will lead them to the land of Cathay." Marco Polo was so in was so um wonderful, amazed at this story, so he wrote every detail about it. So in the future, Marco Polo was the first one who described this ship. And when the travelers, merchants, went to Cathay, and every detail of Marco Polo's written was right, so they called the ship on the future. And from now, obviously, Marco Polo's ship. So they continued their travel, and when they reached the desert, oh, he encountered some other animals like the peasants with golden feathers and colorful feathers, long feathers, which they use for their hats. And also Marco Polo learned about Mongolian language and Indian. But just he learned Mongolian language, he continued his journey, and he also saw another sheep, which is uh yak, a different kind of sheep. He was a big sheep. He is as tall as they says it could be 6 feet or 7 feet high, or it could be lower than that. Lower than that. And so they lower than that. They or lower than that. And that sheep could be black or white and it has short legs. And they call this the yak. This yak was very wild, but some of the yak were tame and used like carabaos, like what carabaos do. They carry things like that, and also what things and that. When they reached the desert of Lop, they heard some stories too, which some of the people there said, "We should come with you. We should come with you." So when they said that we should come with you, they tell them some different stories about this desert. When at night, they should not run away from the caravan, or they should not be separated from the caravan, or else they will hear the voice of their friend, which will lead them to everywhere and will lead them to be lost. They will be lost and will die for hunger. And some of the stories they said that they were hear the and when one traveling alone would hear a noise of a caravan, when he tried to follow and tried to join in, he got lost and died. But the Marco Polo, the Polos didn't know the stories. But when night came, they heard those voices like music and like what they said on their story. So, but we know today that it wasn't really voices; it was falling off the sand. So after the desert of Lost, some western of Cathay, some western parts of Cathay, they Marco Polo discovered this 20-day law, and this 20-day law was that if his husband was lost for 20 days, the woman could marry another man if she wanted. Then, when he reached more western part of Cathay, he oh wait, I forgot that in the desert of Lop, they saw some white camels. So let's continue in our story. So then when they reached western part of Cathay, they saw this another law: if someone's dead, and if someone is dead, they shall call a priest or a astrologer, and when they shall put him on a coffin, they should put some spices, some flowers, some good scents, and also they will cover the coffin and put some linen around it. And they would bring some food to the coffin every day because they thought that the spirit of it was traveling and waiting for his lucky day. The astrologer will count his lucky day, and sometimes it will reach for weeks, or even months until his lucky day came. When his lucky day came, they will travel. For example, they will go already in the heaven. So then, Marco Polo, nearing to the Khan, discovered a new language, Chinese. He learned this language. Then, when he was going near to the Khan, he said that he noticed that the roads were quite nice. There were shady trees because there were shady trees so that the merchants could rest, and if there's snow, there is pile of rocks leading them to the way to the Great Khan, and there would be some inn for them, which they would not pay for that inn. They would not pay for that inn, so that only the one who are not travelers to go to the Khan, they would pay there. And every inn has a new freshly horse that they could use. A 4,000 every inn that they saw. 4,000 horses so that they could use for traveling, so that the going to the Khan will not be a big delay. That's all.